And hello. My name's Felix, and
This is Prince from Ledger CS team.
we're here to answer any of the questions you guys might have or anything like that. I think I always mention don't give out your recovery phrase, don't sign any transactions you don't trust, just some of the basic stuff that we normally mention as well. So why don't we just get straight into it actually. Just let us know if the audio does seem a bit low, but if it is, we'll turn it up in a bit. First question I wanted to answer was from Huhu. They mentioned your Ledger Nano X is turning off, especially when you're using it. The battery is charged overnight, and it wasn't only since you bought it, like it's been about 6 months since you bought it. What could be the reason? Could definitely be a hardware issue for your Huhu. If you were going to get that replaced, you can definitely try to get a hold of us. I can see you mentioned where you are potentially located, so it might be something. Being that you bought it from a seller as well, you can probably have a chat with them as well to try and get that sorted for yourself as well. You have a second question there about when the Chrome Ledger extension is going to be out. No time frame that I'd have on my end that I remember.
For Chrome, yeah.
Yeah, because it's only a
For
Safari.
yeah.
Yeah, because I'm only a Chrome user myself as well, so I'm really looking forward to getting it over. But we'll definitely let you guys know for sure.
Yep. Next is, I think, Ilya. How much different addresses can be created for a particular such BTC or Ethereum, and does Ledger have any restrictions? So no, there is no restrictions. You can create as many accounts as you want to create for any blockchain or any crypto asset, and there is no restrictions. But just make sure to save your recovery phrase, because each account when you create it is linked to that particular recovery phrase, and then if your device somehow resets it and then you set it up with a new recovery phrase, then you won't be able to access the same account. So make sure to have a correct recovery phrase secured and then stored correctly.
Yeah, I think one thing to harp on that is that like you can, even though there is a limited number, quote unquote, it's basically limitless essentially. Like I don't think anyone would ever be able to hit a limit of
60 or 70 accounts of Bitcoin at the same time.
Yeah, like no one, if anyone, basically you can have a lot of like addresses, let's say Bitcoin, for example, a lot of UTXOs with a lot of addresses and things like that. And a lot of Ethereum addresses, for example, you'll have to, make the transaction and everything like that, but really no limit, right? So none of our restrictions in general that we'd be stopping you from doing. I'd be really surprised if you ever got up to even 100 addresses, unless you were doing it programmatically.
We had a case where a guy was trying to add like 200 accounts, and then after that it just stopped.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot of data to be downloading, right? Exactly. Like it's a lot.
So I think that is also Ledger is not used for mining purposes. I think because of this reason as well.
Yeah. It would be. I think a lot of us have definitely seen cases where people have been dealing with a lot of UTXOs, and that definitely can be an issue. And that's why, when the device itself is trying to sign those transactions, so many UTXOs that it'd be too much for the ledger to do. So if you're going to do it, just make sure you consolidate those transactions, and then you can pop them into your ledger managed addresses, and you can go from there.
Yeah, and also there is a feature called coin control, which you can use, and then you can select which UTXOs you want to spend, basically. So you can do that as well.
So if you guys have any questions, please pop them in the chat. We've got yours, Ilya, of course. But if there's anyone else, I can see there's only a couple of you right now. But if you have any questions, pop them in the chat. We're here to answer anything. And if you are having an issue directly live or anything like that, we can try to get that sorted for you as well. But I mean, other than that, what's been happening in crypto? Like, I feel like we've had a little bit of price action recently, and
the market is going like fluctuating really high. It's going high and then it's going down as well. So people are like, is it over? Is it over? But then you never know, right? You never know. Yeah,
I think the fun thing about it is there is always a lot of volatility. I can go up, down, or sideways. I think they always say so. Other than that, I think we had a new release on Android as well. There was a little fix that had to happen. So if any of you guys were getting any crashing, that should have been fixed up. But I mean, definitely let us know. You can always get a hold of us. It's always going to be support.ledger.com. you're going to try to get a hold of us and have your issue fixed, or you can come here tomorrow. There's going to be a live stream as well on Twitter. Yeah, and we try to do one every day.
So yeah, if you want to ask your questions live, this is the time, guys, and you can just type your questions in the chat, and then we'll pick it up from there, and then we can answer them in real time. So,
but I do see a question here from Leng Zai. You're afraid that someone would. It's more of a statement, but you're afraid that someone could guess your recovery phrase or seed phrase is another word for it, and it is definitely I guess a valid concern to have, because like of course you want your assets to be safe, but with regards to like anyone guessing it, it would be if everything was as random as it should be. So if you have perfect randomness or good enough randomness, then the likelihood of someone guessing is so minuscule that it is as close to impossible as it could be.
Because Ledger device uses this random pin recovery phrase generator, and that is like certified by the top companies and certifications. So every time you generate a seed phrase, it's like not possible that someone else might guess the same seed phrase. So that's the beauty of a device, and that's why Ledger device does not let you choose your own 24 words, because human mind cannot be very good at generating random numbers, right? So that's why we use a Ledger device, and don't worry, as long as you don't expose it, don't type it anywhere online, and don't take a photo of it, it's safe.
Yeah, don't put it anywhere that isn't the Ledger device, and I wouldn't worry about anyone guessing it. And then the only thing then that you generally have to worry about is if someone was to gain access to it if you stored it online, which would never recommend. That would be something that would definitely compromise the security of your assets. So definitely wouldn't recommend it there. So Leng Zai, wouldn't worry about that. You should be okay. There is an article on our Ledger Academy about the likelihood of that kind of thing happening. So definitely check that out. I think it's ledger.com/academy.
Yes.
And you'll be able to check that out, read through that. If it gives you a little bit of more of a
security.
Security,
assurance,
calmness. More assuredness about the security of it. So have a look at that.
And you can also do one thing. You can also add a 25th word, that is your own word, as a passphrase. So even if someone guesses your 24 words, you still need to have that 25th word, which is your own word, and that will give you access to a new set of accounts. So yeah, that will be another extra layer of security. But of course, it's for advanced users. So please read the data which we have or documents which we have on our help center, and that will guide you through the process as well.
Exactly right. Next, if you want to take it, we've got Grumpy Old Man DK.
Okay.
He said, "Is it necessary to make a tag?" So,
I mean, maybe referring to the Memo tag.
That would be the first thing I think of, right? Yeah.
So yeah, it's like some blockchains. Like when you're sending transactions from a Ledger device to an exchange, that time you'll be asked to put a tag, so that when you go transactions that go through the blockchain, and then when they read the exchange's account, it takes there are a lot of accounts, right? So they don't know which account to credit in. So with that memo, they find out your account and your address, and then they send the funds to it. So sound volume is low, I guess.
We'll pump that up, no worries.
Yeah. So yeah, basically when you send your assets from a Ledger account to an exchange account, you need to put a memo tag. But when you send it from an exchange to a Ledger, you don't need to. You can just put any random numbers, because that is your own particular private address. So if that's the question, I hope I have answered that. And if not, you can ask me more.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think one of the things about the memo tags for exchanges is that you wouldn't want, especially if you think about something like XRP, right?
Oh yeah.
They'd have like little bits of XRP hanging around place to place. And so like it'd just be a waste of, it'd be really super inefficient. So it'd be a lot better for them to.
Yeah, because I think exchanges have one big account, and when all the multiple transactions are passing through at each given point in time, and so to find out which address belongs to you, I think the memo is what helps them. So in case you have a transaction that is stuck somewhere, guys, if you send it from your Ledger device but it's not shown on the your exchange account, you can always go out to the support of the exchange and then share your memo tag, and they'll find your accounts basically.
Yeah, so it's definitely a tough issue when people send it to an exchange, and if you forget it, I think it's just really important. It's not something that we'd have access to or anything like that. A lot of the times you can actually go to the exchange and you'd be like, hey, I've done this. I've heard of some exchanges charging a fee,
Okay.
but most of them, I imagine, would be happy to help you with retrieving those assets. So we have another question though. Next one comes from AI Food. You mentioned, do you have any tips to lower gas fees, or would it be possible for Ledger to get a special deal? Now, the second part, for sure, no. It's not something that we're necessarily getting, having a real influence on necessarily, but there are definitely things you can do if you wanted to avoid paying gas fees, especially if you're normally transacting on somewhere like Ethereum, for example. Gas fees can be quite high depending on how much you're sending. So first thing for me that I always do is I choose particular networks that may or may not be supported, but a lot of them are within Ledger Live that would have lower gas fees that I can bridge to. So if I have something, an asset, let's say a USDC on Ethereum, I may instead withdraw it on Polygon, for example. I know Binance Smart Chain has a USDC equivalent as well. So those are potential other options to avoid gas fees. But of course, if you need to be on Ethereum mainnet, lowering gas fees could be more about choosing maybe the time that you're going to make the transaction, because there definitely is going to be a time where there's going to be a high transaction fee, there's more people on the network, there's more people wanting to transact as well. So there's definitely something to consider. And then also, I think the other thing maybe is to just, I don't want to say chill out, but like be relaxed about the transaction taking a little bit longer. Not to set the gas fee so low that it would be
Stuck in the mempool.
yeah, like where it's not being picked up by the mempool by a validator at all. But if you set a lower gas fee or a low gas fee in general, it just might take 10, 20 minutes, maybe longer sometimes. But if it goes through, and if it's about making sure it just gets through with a low gas fee, that could be another potential way as well. I think there are some ERC20 tokens that are trying to change the way that their contracts are written so that it lowers the gas fee, but I guess it wouldn't really be. Yeah. It's not really with you guys to do that. So those are the kind of general tips I'd have. But I think the biggest one is just to go with the gas fees the lowest. Be really careful though. Like bridges are always a big source of exploits. Yeah, for sure. So just be really careful, mindful of that, and know what the risks are. But that's kind of the best thing that I would say is just to the Polygon. You've got BSC. I mean, Arbitrum and Optimism. I didn't want to mention it because it wasn't supported in Ledger Live, but isn't rather.
But it's supported by Ledger Device.
Ledger Device, exactly, and I use it all the time. It's a great way to. There are a lot of protocols that use that are on Arbitrum and Optimism that you can use. So I would definitely consider those as potential options. But if there's something else that another network that you might be thinking of, drop it down in the comments, and maybe we can think of other things. Because even Bitcoin, for example, there's no like Lightning is one way, but it's not compatible. And
I think it's not for hardware wallets. I think Lightning won't be supported because I think it's not designed for that purpose.
Exactly.
And it will just go against what a hardware wallet should perform, because Lightning, I think you have to give like automatic transactions, and then once it's like you don't have to sign your transaction each time physically, and that's what you need a device for, right? So
yeah, it feels a little insecure, but I don't know. Maybe we will see Lightning in the future. Who knows, right? We're not those. We're not going to be here trying to predict the future.
Yep, exactly.
But guys, keep popping those questions in the chat. I know it's a bit quieter today, but that way you'll be able to get us to really go into depth. We'll ramble on for a bit, I guess. So
yeah. Next is my favorite. Is it possible you have one video on how to add another new Nano S to existing Nano S? I don't know how to process and add another Ledger Nano S things. Oh, I think he means to add like two devices in the one Ledger Live app. So that is possible, of course, but the only trick is to rename the accounts differently. So when you add an account, there's an option to name the account. So just mention Nano S1 or Nano S2 and then rename your Nano S's that way. Or you can also add a new user account inside your on your computer and install Ledger Live on that particular user account, and then you manage your other device on the particular new user account. So that way you have separate portfolios at the same time, But if you want to have only one user account, then you will have to see all your accounts in one portfolio basically.
Yeah, and it's definitely something that I mean, I guess we're a bit more of a niche market with for ourselves in particular because we might have a couple of devices that we use, and it is definitely something that we have to deal with. So many weird accounts that I added this yesterday, to the other day, and stuff like that. But so renaming is a really something I only just did after I started working here, to be honest, because I only had the one device.
Yeah, exactly.
But that is definitely something that you would do. I mean, I would like to hope you're not thinking about adding one device into another. That's not necessarily how it works, or adding two recovery phrases into the one device, which also wouldn't be possible as well. Just to really make sure we're covering all your bases there. So I mean, if you have if we didn't hit it or anything like that, definitely let us know. My favorite, and we'll go on from there. AI Food follows up with thank you, and we never know if there are new ways. Your question is about your wallet address creation. Sending from a hot wallet to a ledger kind of costs some, and that is part of it, and that is the only thing that I think that there is nothing else we can do other than making sure we're on the networks. Creating an address won't necessarily cost any gas actually, because you're actually doing that. The address is actually retrieved from the ledger device itself, and then when you sign the transactions, you're doing that on the ledger device, and that's the thing that's costing gas fees. I'm sure you already know that. So I to be honest, I totally agree that transactions, when you're like going to new accounts or anything like that, it costs a bit of
money. Like depends on the network, of course. But then I would say, like when I think the entire world is sleeping, I think maybe that time you can transact, because US is the major markets in crypto, and then I think when all those markets are like not active, that time I think the fees goes down, and then that is something we can look at.
I think what's really important actually is if you there's actually a tool on Etherscan that actually shows like a what is it called? Not only charts, but like it's a box. They're like a table of all the time zones, and red and green of how the gas fees are during that time. And it's a great way just to check, okay, I'm normally up at this time, and this is when the gas fees are lowest for that time as well. So I was just trying to think of that before, but it's definitely another way to try and really optimize if you're having to send consistent transactions, when you'd be able to do that in particular. So that's another good way.
Or maybe just batch a big transaction and then just pay one-time gas fees, and then you can save on the rest of other transactions. So that is also a good way you can look at. We have one more question from
is it Olamide?
Olamide, I guess. Can I stake my Myra token in Ledger?
Store.
Store, yeah, Myra.
Myria is not something I'm aware of in particular.
We can check it for you.
Yeah, my laptop is right here. But while you're checking that, I'll follow up with AI Food. All the rhetoric questions are over. You can go on with this good thing you are doing. Yes, the gas meter is very useful. Personally, I think I've gotten used to too much with using like Arbitrum and Optimism in particular. It is definitely one of my favorites, and where I actually use a lot of DeFi tools there, just while you're looking that up. It's really, I am really excited for when they are going to be integrating the support for Optimism and Arbitrum into Ledger Live. It'll make my instance of Ledger Live look a lot more lively. It's the thing that I actually use every day, as opposed to a lot of the other networks. Polygon I do use quite a bit, and I think most people have used Binance Smart Chain before as well. But yeah, guys, we see more people in the tuning into the stream. If you guys have any questions, please pop them in the chat. We're going to be here for another about 20 to 30 minutes. We do have a hard stop at 5:30, so we got to get out of here before then. So please pop them in the chat, just to make sure I mention it to anyone that's ever listening. If you're tuning in for the first time, we always mention this. Please don't give out your recovery phrase ever. It's really the thing that is going to make sure that you're going to keep your assets safe. It's basically the thing that will allow you to access your assets no matter what. And don't sign any transactions that might look sketchy as well. Always be sure you trust where you're signing transactions from, the website or whatever it might be. But we'll keep going. I do have another question here. It's KO13. You mentioned, hello, you know that we can't give you an ETA, but you're looking forward to when it's available on Brave. So I'm not sure what specific thing you'd be looking to be available on Brave. Would you be talking maybe about the Ledger extension? It is definitely something that I imagine when it's available for Chrome, being, if I remember correctly, Brave is a Chromium browser, then it should be available pretty soon after that. But if it's something specific, Ledger Live isn't something that runs in the browser as well, remember? So you would just be able to install it on your computer. Should be able to install it whether you run Windows, Linux, or Mac. You'll be able to install Ledger Live.
Yeah. So going back to the question, I'm not able to find the token right now, but I'll get back to you once we finish the stream, and then we'll reply to that. But I think if it's an ERC20 token, or if it's a BEP20 token or Polygon token, you can definitely send it to your Ledger Ethereum, Polygon, or Binance Smart Chain address. And if it's not supported, we can add it to the list, of course. But yeah, if it's a mainnet coin, then I'll need to check it and I'll get back to you.
And in all likelihood, you can always, manage it with like third-party wallets. I think we always mention this a lot to a lot of users, like things like MetaMask and Rabby and Tahoe, where instead of inputting your recovery phrase, you actually connect your Ledger device. And it's a great way to manage EVM tokens. And not only that, this is something you can do for other networks as well. So you can actually do this for Solana. So you've got Solflare, you've got Phantom. You can do, because I was just doing things about this today, it was like Tezos has Temple and Kukai, Cardano has Eternal and Daedalus, and I'm forgetting one.
Typhoon?
Typhoon?
Yeah.
There's not even one. There's a lot,
Eternal,
you can tell.
Yeah.
Eternal, yeah. So like there's really a lot that you guys can use in browser to be able to manage your assets as well. So remembering that Ledger Live is actually just a way for you to interact with the chain, with your device, and all these different applications are ways to do that. You still need Ledger Live to install applications, generally speaking, but other than that, there's obviously great things within Ledger Live, because there's like in the Discover section, there's a lot of features. So actually a good thing to check out if you guys haven't seen that. Left-hand side of Ledger Live, there's a Discover section. There's the Stata Labs staking. There's what?
Portfolio trackers.
Yeah.
Crypto asset too. Like if you want to do the tax, there are tax assistants that will help you with your taxing if you're in US or any other country. You can sell your assets via BTC Direct and other selling partners. So if you're looking to sell your assets, you can also directly do it from Ledger Live. What else you can do? You can swap your assets as well. There are different dApps, like Paraswap and 1inch, which you can use to swap your tokens on different networks, like EVM networks like Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, and Polygon. And there is different dApps as Zerion, which is you can use to send your assets in case sometimes your MetaMask is not working, and then it will show you all unsupported tokens in Ledger Live. It will show you there, so you can use that as well.
All right, and yeah, thanks Olamide, and my favorite for the questions. We always love it when you guys like come in, ask. Especially really, even if you think it's a basic question, we're always here. I think we talk about crypto a lot, obviously, in our job between each other. We rant about it, talk about the market. So always here to answer, even whatever you think, even if it's embarrassing. You guys, are just behind the name, and then we're the ones here to be able to answer your questions. So please pop them in the chat. We can, if you guys don't have too much, we can always finish up, but we want to be here for you guys as much as we can to be able to answer whatever you guys want as well. So
any question in crypto, NFT, smart contracts, scams, anything if you're like unsure about, you can always ask to us. And this is the new way you can reach out to us directly without opening any support case or any emails. I think this is a direct way of interacting with us. So if you want to do it, this is your time, guys. Like any question. But we can also give them updates, like for example, if you're a Gala token holder on Ethereum, there's a V2 token airdrop that is going to happen soon. So if you have your Gala tokens in your Ethereum address, you don't have to do anything. Everything will be automatic. And just make sure you withdraw your tokens from any liquidity pool or smart contract. So and then keep it normally in your Ethereum address. And then once the snapshot is done on 15th of May, you'll be able to you'll be airdropped the new V2 tokens directly. Now, for people holding tokens on Binance Smart Chain network, we don't have any update regarding that, and even the announcement made by the Gala community only covers and only mentions about the Ethereum address. So if you want to check it out, you can reach out to their team, the Gala community, and then they can answer your question better. Oh, no, new questions are popping in.
Yeah, so I mean, looks like one from Checkmate One mentioned that our GitHub supported coins site or list that we have fetch. Is that the fetch.ai? That would be the first thing that I think of. And when you try to add it, it does not show up. But if I send some fetch to my ETH address, I see Ledger Live created a fetch account. So how do we read this as from your site? It shows fetch is not supported, but it is. What does delisted mean? Really mean? It's the kind of thing where the asset itself is just a ledger, a part of a ledger, as a part of that ERC20 token contract, right? And we want to make sure that you're able to see it. I can't get the list up now. Delisted normally means that it shouldn't show up in a lot of cases, right?
Yeah, delisted means it will not show up if you want when you directly add an account for that particular token. It won't be listed in that particular list of Ledger Live. But if you send your tokens, it will once it is received successfully in your Ethereum account, the tokens will be seen there. So it's just delisted from that particular list in Ledger Live, but it's not supported. Like it's still supported, but just delisted. That's what it means.
As you've so astutely found out, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, you can send it, you can manage it, and you can do whatever you need because it's just another ERC20 token. It'll be managed in the same way. So you'll be able to go from there. And just need ETH, I'm sure you're aware, to be able to manage your asset, and yeah, you'll be good to go from there.
Yeah, and this is because there are a lot of ERC20 tokens that are added on regular basis, and I think the ones which are like supported, they are like okay, they're supported, but they're not in the list because I think they have to make space for new tokens, and so once if you're a token holder, you already see those assets in your account, so it's not like it's not supported, it's just like not listed in that particular list basically.
All right, next one, Dean, you mentioned in asset list you see a blue icon for Polygon, but you see a pink Polygon logo. Does that matter as long as they are both Matic? I can't, because I am actually colorblind. I actually don't know, but I think the basis of the question is that it depends on the network that you're sending the asset on, because you can have Matic on Ethereum mainnet, and you can have Matic on Polygon. Of course. So those are the two ones. You just want to make sure you have the asset on a particular network, and then you can make sure to have the corresponding native token. So whether that's Ethereum for Ethereum mainnet or Matic for a Polygon network, to be able to manage those assets in particular. So hopefully that should be as simple as it is. I'm assuming the blue symbol is going to be the Ethereum.
Yes, true that. So the blue one is for the Ethereum, and the pink one is like, it's not pink, it's like purple for Polygon, like the Polygon account, like the symbol is. And yeah, both are Matic basically, but then I would suggest storing your Matic on its native network. First of all, it will save a lot of gas fees, and second, you can stake your directly from your own native mainnet account directly. So
yeah, Dean, they both represent the same basic asset, so that's 100% right. All right. We got Simon Furland. I'll read the question and answer it. Yeah. We've got Ledger Nano S Plus does not verify your Ethereum account from the original S. Different password and seed phrase. And I think that's the exact thing you pointed out there. It's the recovery phrase that is the thing that your Ledger device uses to sign transactions, right? So you'll need to set up the Ledger Nano S Plus with the same recovery phrase that that your original Nano S has, and then you'll be able to manage the account, the assets in the same way. Should be as simple as that. The PIN code wouldn't matter if that's what you mean by a password. If you have a passphrase on top of that, you'll just need to make sure that's the same as well. But other than that, just make sure the recovery phrase, seed phrase, and the passphrase are the same. and you should be good to go from there. I actually answered that, sorry.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Next is Jake. Hey guys, hope you're well. Was wondering if there are any risks associated with staking Ethereum via Ledger Live. Are there any cons? So of course, staking in general, of course, it has its own risk, like financial risk, liquidation risk, anything is possible. But taking directly via Ledger Live, it's safe. But of course, your funds are controlled by your private keys, which is not changing any hands. So you still own your private keys and you own your funds. It's just like you're staking the assets and getting ST in reward if you're using Lido, and if you're using Clean, and if you're doing directly staking with 32 ETH, then you are staking directly on the beacon chain. But make sure to know that if you stake it on the beacon chain directly via Clean, you won't be able to unstake it for now. Like, of course, the upgrade has been passed, but then it will take some time to unstake your Ethereum. With Lido, you can just stake your Ethereum whenever you want, and if you want to unstake it, you simply have to swap your ST ETH back to Ethereum via Paraswap directly. And so it's completely safe overall. But of course, every staking project has a risk because it's a normal bit. I think it's a normal risk, right?
Yeah, I mean, with the Lido's implementation, it's just an ERC20 token that rebases, right? I think it's midnight UTC or midday. I can't remember. I always get it confused. It changes the amount that you have based on the rate, right? So that's the specific implementation that Lido have taken. They take the cut from their implementation of setting up their validators and everything like that. And then the risk that you take is financial. And I mean, touch wood, in the event that Lido was somehow go out of business or something, that would be the other potential risk. Not that I would ever expect that to happen necessarily. Now, with the implementation from things like, I don't know if Rocket Pool's in...
it's in the pipeline, I guess.
But in general, Rocket Pool or Kiln or that kind of stuff, it's the kind of thing where they set up the infrastructure for your staking setup, right? And so the risk there is pretty similar, but it's just that you've got Kiln as an entity to worry about, and the 32 ETH would just be on chain, just like you said. So the risks are pretty similar. It's all about understanding, who holds the private keys for all the withdrawal keys for a particular asset. So
which is going to be the user, which is going to be you in this case. So as long as you're using a Ledger device, I think it's pretty safe.
I think the only other con, it's small, would be that if you're using Kiln, it won't appear in your portfolio tab. So that's specifically because it's not like ST ETH in the same way there's a token. It is something that is going to be directly on chain. I would like to hope, I think I've raised something about having them put that into the portfolio tab, but I think it's a bit of a weird implementation.
But you can still see your rewards inside the Discover tab. Like there's a tab of Kiln inside Ledger Live, and then on the top right it will show you the rewards, so you can monitor your rewards that way as well.
100%. All right, so Dean was just commenting afterwards with gas fees. Good point. Or you Polygon. Thank you for the question, Dean. Jake Elite, any updates on the Stax shipment?
So it's in works. Like our teams are working, and I think we have sent you the communication emails by end of February. And yeah, once we have more information, our team will send you continuous updates via email. So yeah, guys, even I have ordered like Stax, and then even many of us are waiting for it. So soon we'll be getting it, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, it's always a tough one. We always want to tell you guys. We want to be like, all right, we want it to be available too, but it is what it is on our side. We'll let you know when we know.
It's just like we want you to get you a very perfect device, which doesn't have any issues or any bugs. So yeah, and that quality takes a bit more time than I think we expected, and so yeah, that's a small delay. That's it.
All right. Next is Dean. You've got another question with the market tab. That Ledger only supports the coins with the buy, sell, swap buttons only. I don't think it's necessarily that, but I'll get to that part in particular. You see a lot of them with nothing beside them. Now, it is very likely that some of them might not be supported within Ledger Live. Some of the tabs, some of the assets that you see without anything might not be specifically be supported by the purchase, like the seller or the swap providers and things like that. So it could be a couple things there. It is something that we're trying, that people, the developers are trying to put as many assets on as best they can. And a lot of the times, if it is something a little more obscure, it might not be right there in particular. So I totally understand. It might be something you can actually check with us, or you can check with the Help Center. Also has a supported assets list. You can actually go into the buy, sell tabs themselves and try to find them without going through the market tab to find that as well. So just to double check as well, because sometimes I guess the devs may not always get everything exactly right or 100%. And then definitely if you do find that, let us know. We'll make sure to pop that up there as well for sure.
Yep. Now next is Checkmate 1. If so, which one you recommend for swap? Do you recommend we use Ledger or third party swap, or do you recommend using another method or provider from Discover? And if so, which one do you recommend to swap coins instead of transferring your coins back to exchanges and swap? Thank you in advance. So Checkmate, of course, you can always use the dApps inside Ledger Live to swap your assets, but there are certain limitations to that, because right now the dApps inside the Discover tab only supports EVM tokens, so that is Paraswap and 1inch. And if you want to swap your assets directly via DEXs, so you can do one thing. You can also connect your Ledger device to third-party DEXs like Rango Exchange or Multichain, and then you can simply use the Connect Wallet button, connect your device, and then swap without any KYC or anything. So that's like completely decentralized. And you can also use third-party apps like ThorSwap, and they have also options to like just buying, selling, swapping. And yeah, there's a certain limit on how much amount you can use it at one transaction, but yeah, you can use that as well. So when completely safe to use a Ledger device with any third-party apps using the Connect Wallet button, as long as you're not importing via your seed phrase, it's completely safe. Your private keys are always offline, and you're only using it as a front end to sign the transactions, which you are using same for Ledger Live. So yeah.
I think the only thing to mention is if you're using these lesser known websites, is just make sure you're not signing into any phishing websites. I think that's a really big thing that we have come across. Most of the time, the things that we see are going to be trying to impersonate us. At Ledger, we'll never ask for the recovery phrase. So that's why Bringe is mentioning specifically the Connect Hardware Wallet button. What that does essentially is when you're connecting, the website is essentially asking you to sign the transaction. You'll approve it on your device. Make sure what you see on the device is what you're doing, and then you'll be able to sign the transaction and then broadcast that transaction as well. Yeah. So just a thing to keep in mind there. I always want you guys to keep safe. So
yeah, and always try doing small test transactions just to be sure if you don't make any mistakes. And then once you are like comfortable with the app and the website, then you can make bigger transactions.
All right. Now after Checkmate, we've also got Jake Elite. Thank you again for the questions. JD, you mentioned you're having an issue with Binance Smart Chain. You're unable to send funds from a Ledger device or a Ledger managed address, I'm assuming. So you reinstalled the app and it still remains in sending. The funds are stuck and Chain Explorer does not find the transaction. So my first thing there would be the best way in my mind that I'd be doing if this was me is I would be connecting my hardware wallet to, I'm going to use MetaMask in this case because it does have the custom nonce feature. So what I'm going to do is connect my Ledger device to MetaMask. I'm going to make sure to add Binance Smart Chain as a network. Now, the next thing I'd do is I'd go to my address in BSC scan and I'd check the last nonce that I'd used, or depending on how many transactions you send. Hopefully it's only one, but I'm going to go on that assumption that it's only been the one transaction that is been stuck, right? So you get the last nonce that you used that was confirmed and you add one. Now this is the number that you're going to use to send a zero value transaction to yourself with a high gas fee or a normal gas fee, so that you can essentially rebroadcast the transaction to make sure that the network isn't looking for that transaction anymore. And then after that, the funds should be okay to send after that. There is a Help Center article on our website actually, so it would be good to check. I always search on our Help Center, so support.ledger.com, and if you search nonce, then you'll be able to find that specific article. You can follow that article. That one is for Ethereum, But so just make sure to remember to change your network to Binance Smart Chain. You can use something like Chainlist, for example, to make sure you're on the right network, and that should clear that transaction for you. And then you'll be able to manage those assets as you would normally.
Yeah.
I actually end up doing it a lot if I'm just trying to send really low transactions for some reason, or I've been playing around with local networks. So it definitely is something that you can do other than just waiting for it, because I mean, it might be stuck for a while. So give that a try. Pop into support.ledger.com if you do continue to have trouble with that though, but that should get rid of that transaction.
Yeah, and we also have a Help Center article that's Felix told, and it's called Stuck Transaction, and then you search it by this name, and then the first so for Ethereum, and then it's for Bitcoin, so you just go for Ethereum, and you just have to follow the same steps just after changing the network to Binance Smart Chain. So yeah, and then if you don't want to do that, you can cancel the transaction as well directly. There's an option to speed up or cancel the transaction, so you can click on cancel, and then you can use send transaction directly via MetaMask. And I think this is an ongoing bug, I guess, which is under investigation or not, but I'm not sure. But yeah, always check the gas fees and make sure to keep it high.
Just to follow up, because I see you mentioning their JD, it does sound a bit complicated, but the article that I mentioned that has the nonce in the title does go into detail about it. So feel free to take it slow and have a look through it, and you should be okay from there. But like I said, we're always here on our website if you need help. So support.ledger.com. Don't DM anyone or anything like that. So you should be able to get a hand with that one from there. But yeah, I don't want to miss Jose there.
Yeah, Jose. My Nano S has no more space available for any other coins. How do I make more space without losing my old coins? So Jose, first thing is your coins are not stored on your Ledger device. It's stored on the blockchain. Only the thing that is inside your Ledger device is your private keys and the apps that you have installed. Now these apps, they take a lot of storage, and that's why you're not able to add more than 2 or 3 apps at the same time, and that's a limitation. But you can do is you can remove, uninstall and reinstall those apps, and then make space for different tokens. You only need to install those apps on your device when you want to sign that transaction, and then once you have signed the transaction, you can remove that app, install another app, and then add that account and manage that account. So yeah, with that you can do it, and I would also suggest to upgrade to Nano S Plus, because of course it offers more features. You can also manage your NFTs directly with Ledger Live, and it has and you can install more than at least up to 100 apps at the same time, that's like a Nano X, and so it will be better. And then you can use your Nano S as a backup device in case of emergency, of course.
All right, and we've got another question here. It's Toyope2. Can Bitcoin be hacked or get hacked by quantum computing? So I wanted to give a short answer, and that would be no. I could say, quantum computing is very good at specific types of computations, and it can do very specific things. I don't think that it's the kind of thing that would be there yet. I mean, there are people that are worried about it, that are trying to come up with solutions for cryptographic assets that are quantum resistant. So if that is something that you're interested in, it is an area of study that is currently happening. But what I would say in general to that is no. And that would be as a general rule. But I think the thing that more people should be worrying about would be the things that are going to be happening more often. So even a large number of GPUs could do some damage if they were going to try and, go what is called trying to find an address, right? If people want to do a vanity address. It's not something that you do with a Ledger device, right? Because it has the random number generator, and you wouldn't be, like Prince said before, selecting your own recovery phrase. That is something that we would never recommend. If it's also been in any other thing that's not the Ledger device or a piece of paper, is going to be an avenue for the compromising of your assets. So please be careful of that. Hopefully that answers the question. I know it maybe is a bit short, but there is definitely avenues of research that you can go down if you want to find out more about it. But I wouldn't be worried about your wallet being hacked specifically or anything like that, especially if you're using a Ledger device.
Yeah, because we all are using Ledger device. Next is Rock. When will there be a better way to add XDC to my Ledger without going through a third party? Okay. So for now, XDC native integration is not on the roadmap, but of course, it's completely safe to use MyCrypto and all third-party apps. But as it's our goal to integrate more and more blockchains in Ledger Live, so once we have a bandwidth like from our team, then maybe next will be XDC, which will be added inside Ledger Live, and we will surely escalate this feedback to them, and then maybe in future versions you might see XDC coming.
Yeah, we're always, as long as you guys come to us and ask us questions and let us know, we're always going to be here to pass on you guys having asked us about it, so that we can pass these on to the devs as they know that these are the things that you're hoping for. Next, we've still got Checkmate 1, loving it, all the questions. Are there any limitations to the number of apps we can install on a Ledger Nano X before it becomes unstable or have any performance issues? The only thing that you'd have a problem with in particular is the space. So generally speaking, you wouldn't have any instability or performance issues, because the way I actually think about the applications is more that the Ledger devices are ways for the devices to know how to interact with the network. So let's say if it's got the Bitcoin app open, it knows to either be looking for a certain type of cryptographic curve or something like that, or to sign transactions in a specific way. So that's the specific thing that the apps are used for. There shouldn't be any performance issues for your device if you have lots of apps installed. So I wouldn't worry about that. It's just about the amount of space that your application would have in particular.
Yeah, and so I think app doesn't hold any guys data, so it's like app is designed to just sign the messages, and then it will pass on the information from the blockchain to your device, and not to the secure element chip guys, only to the device, and then the chip will just match the private keys, and then once it is done, when you sign the transaction, and then the transaction information is passed again to the blockchain, and that's I think for the main reason of this apps and everything. So
all right, so looks like we got a couple thank yous. So thank you Jose, Toyub, and Rockbolt Hodler for all the questions. Maybe I'll just put out a last call today for any other questions you guys might have. Please pop them in the chat. We'll try to answer them as well before we finish up for today. We always love answering you guys' questions. We always want to make sure that you guys are staying safe. There are no stupid questions. So please ask anything that you'd like, and we'll be here to answer them for you.
Yes. And also, like the questions which you are asking, it may be helpful for other users as well. So don't think it like that. Okay, if I'm asking it, is it good or not? It's also helpful because all these streams will stay on our YouTube channel for a couple of days, or at least not a couple of months. And so all the information will be shared across to different communities and the users. Someone just like you. So yeah, you can ask your questions, and we are here for at least next 15 minutes or 12 minutes, and then yeah, we can answer your questions live. And if not, then we can give you some crypto updates, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about anything that's happening in the market. It's something that we'll always talk about. But yeah, it's something we always love doing. I think that's why we're here. Toyb still got another question. Love it. Gratifies on the Ledger, but what do you think of season 2 of Demon Slayer? That's out of my realm, right?
No.
Oh man, we basically doxed ourselves there, right? Like, sorry, man. I wish we could answer that one.
Checkmate 1. Do you recommend we purchase new Stax or buy Nano X for this year? So depends, guys. The usability. Like if you're into NFTs and you want to like use, there are going to be a lot of purposes of having a Stax, of course, because it has got a bigger screen. If you're signing your smart contract transactions, it's going to be more clearer for you and you can read the data more clearly. And if you have NFTs, you can keep it as your wallpaper, and it's magnetic. It's very small, just like the size of a debit card, I would say. So yeah, if you're into all this thing, then of course, then that's the device for you. Security wise, it's just like same thing as Nano X, but with a bigger screen. And
yeah, I think It really depends. I think I always used to hate the answer depends because it's so vague. But I think in this specific case, it's like if you need it now, you need to have your assets off chain, like not off chain, but like to have it on in a hardware wallet on a addresses managed by a hardware wallet to be specific. Then I would go for the Ledger Nano X. The specific things that you lose out on are going to be the bigger screen, like we mentioned before. So right, so with the Ledger Nano X, you can still manage all of your assets, everything like that. So, or at least most of your assets, depending on what you actually own yourself.
Yeah, and yeah, if you're looking to buy in short term, then I think Nano X is the way to go. And then once Stax releases, and then you can, of course, it is released, and then we have already sold out the first batch. So when the next batch orders open, then you can join the wait list and order your Stax. Or you can also go to Rarible and then buy it for via NFT. But be careful, there are a lot of scam as well. So go via our official channels that we have, like we have market.ledger.com, and it has all the NFTs, like all the safe links to those NFTs. So you can do that as well. But for now, if you're looking in short term, I would suggest a Nano X because, of course, if you're an iOS user, then you can use it with your phone, and if you're an Android user, then you can still use a Nano S. But if you're an iPhone user, you can only use a Nano X.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we'll do another round and then we can even finish up a little early. I know, like I said, we have a hard stop. We don't ever want to leave you guys hanging or anything like that. I think I'll reiterate again. I know you. I think I always say you guys are going to be sick of hearing about it because there are a lot of ways that people are going to try and compromise your security. So I think it's going to be, remember, recovery phrase. Don't ever share it. Don't ever release it. I think one thing as well, some people do is they put their recovery phrase and their device together, and that is not the way that you should be securing your assets. I know there are some people who use things like a crypto Zeus, the crypto tag. Crypto tag, was that the name?
Yeah, crypto Zeus and crypto steel.
Crypto steel, that's the one. That can store the recovery phrase, and then you can put that away. You can leave it with someone that you trust, or I don't know. It'd be weird, but maybe in a bank vault or something.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing, and you can make sure the recovery phrase is safe. That's another way. You can potentially secure that recovery phrase as well, but don't store it together. And I think the other thing I mentioned, don't sign any transactions. So if you're on some website and someone's asking you to sign a transaction with your device to log in or something like that, really be sure that you trust that website, because there's all kinds of approval for all. I've been reading a lot about the permit pattern in Solidity that's allowing people to do gasless transactions without your of your assets, which normally would be for dexes, but in this way is not going to be very. This is going to be very troublesome for you. You're going to lose your assets. So really, please be careful of what you sign.
Also scam NFTs or scam tokens that are airdropped to your accounts. So please do not interact with them, because interacting is like basically do not send it out of your account, because that time you have to sign a message, and if the underlying smart contract is malicious, you never know, it can access your entire address, and you can lose all the funds in that particular address that you used to sign the transaction from. Or there can be dusting attacks as well on chains like XRP or XLM, where you're going to be sent a small amount of XRP, and then there's going to be a small memo tag, and then you try to open the memo tag, and then it'll ask you for your 24-word seed phrase, which you don't want to, of course, expose. So yeah, just keep the free XRP. It's completely safe, but then just do not interact with the memo fields. Yeah.
Guys, there are always going to be people after your assets. Be paranoid. Don't be too paranoid, but be paranoid and verify. Do not trust. Right? It's one of the things we're passionate about here. And yeah, I think we can wrap it up now. Thanks, guys, for all the questions. Checkmate, Toyop, everyone, Jose, just trying to wrap off all the names that we see here. And yeah, stay safe in the markets out there, guys. Don't give out your 24 words, please. And yeah, have a good rest of the week.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, guys, we keep on doing this YouTube AMAs for you, so you can reach out to us directly and then ask any questions live. But and then tomorrow we're gonna have one more on Twitter. I think at same from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. CET. So if you can join there, you can ask your questions live as well over there. So there's always one onboarding or AMA happening each day of the week, and you can also check out the schedule on our support head center, and then it will show you, because we are also covering some, and then there's US team that is covering some. So if some of you are from US and want to have in your time zone, you can definitely tune in and watch it in your comfort.
Thanks, guys. Let's answer those two questions because I see
Yeah.
the ledger swap. Select from BTC to Polygon Matic. It seems like it's a cross-chain swap. Is supported. It might be from a third-party service like Changelly or something like that. So make sure you know which service provider you're using. And Rob Flob, you mentioned that the website is not loading. I would be thinking of either what location you're in and understanding whether or not there might be any issues with regards to your location, or just double check the address, which would be support.ledger.com.
Yeah, and also if there's some VPN or something, if you're trying to use, maybe that could be interfering with the website as well. So try to maybe change that and then see if it works as well.
Cool. Just wanted to answer your questions, guys. And thanks again. Have a great rest of the week.
See you guys.
See ya.